The quest of becoming the strongest fighter on the planet has always been prevalent in anime and manga. To be honest, it's kind of difficult to find a shonen series these days that doesn't incorporate that trope. However, not many of these stories can provide a definite answer to the question, and I guess that's what makes Yujiro Hanma stand out. After all, in the world of Baki, one thing has been certain since the very first episodes. Yujiro, the ogre, is undoubtedly the strongest fighter in the entire cast. Perhaps that's why the character has garnered such a cult following over the years, and thus, in this marvelous video, we wanted to explore the anatomy and abilities of the infamous senior manga. But before we move into the juicy bits, please take a moment to hit the like and subscribe buttons. It might just be a small click for you, but to us, it means an awful lot. With that out of the way, let's dive right in. Who is the ogre? It's kind of difficult to define a man like Yujiro Hanma. Fighter, soldier, criminal, the intimidating physical specimen dons many hats. But no matter what he does, you can't deny his terrifying presence and aura, which can cripple even the most self-assured men with ease. In the world of combat, Yujiro is unparalleled in both his ferocity and prowess, which has led to him being recognized universally as the strongest creature on the planet. Due to the long and complex nature of Yujiro's tale, I guess the best place to start is the very beginning. Not much is known about Yujiro's childhood apart from the fact that he was born to another ferocious fighter named Yuichiro Hanma. Throughout the series, Yuichiro is implied to be the only person equal to his son, though we never see a direct encounter between the two. Yuichiro's mother became a nun after giving birth to the monster, renouncing all material life as her son's power was too much for her to comprehend. The violent and tumultuous journey of Yujiro Hanma began at the age of 16 when the fighter entered the army to develop his skills. Yujiro was soon drafted into the Vietnam War against the Americans, where he played a crucial role in numerous pivotal confrontations. Though he was still pretty young, Yujiro was already peerless in his strength and skill, and he was noted to be capable of taking down a small platoon all on his own. As the conflict progressed, Yujiro participated in numerous shady missions, and during one such mission, he befriended a female American soldier named Jane. There's clear sexual tension between the two, but for the moment, they decided to become comrades. We would eventually find out that Jane is actually a covert agent from Canada working at the behest of the UN, whose real name is Diane Neal. But it isn't that easy to fool the ogre, and Yujiro is able to catch a whiff of their plans before they can come to fruition. As revenge, he assaults Diane and leaves her with an illegitimate child who would go on to become Jack the Hammer. Over the course of the story, we see numerous flashbacks to Yujiro's time in the war. Here, we catch our first glimpses of Yujiro's bloodthirsty nature as the brawler tears through some of the toughest squadrons with ease. By the end, the United States of America strikes up a peace alliance with Yujiro, which is essentially a polite way of saying that the greatest superpower in the world lost to a single man. Sometime after the war, Yujiro met Emi Akazawa, and the two instantly fell in love with each other. Though Emi wasn't a fighter like Yujiro, she still had enough fire to please the ogre. Though Emi was a married woman at this point in the story, Yujiro would simply murder her husband Ichi to claim her love. Some months later, Emi would go on to give birth to Baki Hanma, and the rest is history. Baki, the protagonist of the series, spends his entire life on a quest to catch up to his father, Yujiro, who eventually abandoned Emi while Baki was still in diapers. Yujiro traveled across the world as a mercenary, constantly improving his skills through constant encounters with the world's most vicious warriors. It's important to note that all this while, Yujiro has held the desire to father a son who carries on his name. Though he initially displayed interest in Baki, he would later grow disillusioned and leave the child behind. This would prompt Baki to become a vicious fighter in his own right, and over the years, the father and son have engaged in numerous heated confrontations. Though Yujiro saw Baki as a weakling for most of the storyline, he has recently gained a newfound respect for his estranged son, which became extremely evident during their most recent fight. Yujiro is a ruthless and arrogant man who has no mercy or sympathy for the individuals he considers weak. His incredibly intimidating aura and physique are enough to scare even the most powerful martial artists on the planet, and, well, if we were in their shoes, we'd probably shut up too. Yujiro has devoted his entire life to the relentless pursuit of strength and doesn't exhibit even a shred of remorse while tearing his opponents limb from limb. Over the years, he's dropped more bodies than you can count, and his methods of execution will never fail to impress. He's ripped his opponents' faces off, broken their spines, and even cut off their limbs, so I guess we can all understand why nobody wants to go up against him. His strict philosophy regarding combat and strength often led Yujiro away from modern society, leading people to view him as more of a beast than a man. But Contrary to all expectations, this hulking behemoth is also one of the smartest characters on the show, and he's well read in various subjects. Though he doesn't really take kindly to the people he considers weak, he still holds a soft spot for the men whom he considers to be true warriors like Doppo Orochi and Hanayama. Also, it's been medically confirmed that Yujiro has more testosterone than any other creature on Earth, due to which he views himself as the only true male on the planet. This leads him to have a rather complex sexuality, as he sees almost every other person on the planet as female. No matter what your personal opinions are, it's undeniable that Yujiro sits at the very top of the food chain in the world of Baki. The secret to Yujiro's inhuman strength. Is he superhuman? It's pretty easy to understand why so many fans think Yujiro is a superhuman specter of masculinity and violence. After all, can a guy who stops earthquakes with his punches really be human? Well, despite the outlandish nature of some of Hanma's feats, series creator Itagaki has still maintained that nothing in the world of Baki is superhuman. Instead, Yujiro has grown to such notoriety just based on his natural strength and fighting prowess. Of course, it took him a lifetime of training to get to this level, but we'd be lying if we told you he wasn't special from the very beginning. Even at an early age, Yujiro could easily slice his way through an armed platoon and was even able to knock out a wild elephant that even tanks couldn't harm. Throughout the series, Yujiro's hits have been likened to nuclear bombs, and to be honest, we aren't sure if that's an exaggeration or just a simple fact. It has been implied that Yujiro underwent rigorous training under some of the most powerful masters on the planet, and all fighters across every discipline now consider the man to be a genius. As Yujiro is a firm believer in the purity of his strength, he never uses any weapons, but I mean, come on, does he need them? Yujiro has been constantly studying numerous forms of combat, and his repertoire now includes moves from a vast range of disciplines such as karate, boxing, taekwondo, and wrestling. He can mix these and other fighting styles effortlessly to create his own unique style. Yujiro's knowledge goes far beyond the realm of combat, and he's quite proficient in human anatomy as well. Needless to say, he often uses his intimate understanding of the human body to outsmart his opponents and identify the most vital spots in their bodies. In his long career as a mercenary and fighter, Yujiro has faced some real giants like Biscuit Oliva, Doppo Orochi, and even Kaiokaku, only to come out on top every time. This isn't just due to his skill in combat, but it's also due to his fierce intellect, which some even consider to be his greatest resource. Yujiro's rigorous training and tough lifestyle have allowed him to reach levels of strength that are simply incomprehensible to us mere mortals. However, this isn't the only skill that allows Yujiro to tower over the world of fighting, as we'll soon see. Yujiro's insane durability. Is he indestructible? When you devote your entire life to the pursuit of power and violence, it's pretty likely that you're going to take a hit even if you're the strongest on the planet. And when you're as overconfident in your abilities as Yujiro, the chances are a lot better. But despite fighting some real monsters, Yujiro still managed to withstand everything his opponents could throw at him. Not only has he never been injured, but not even the most powerful attacks have been enough to make him miss a step. So I guess you can already see why this monster is rumored to be literally indestructible. So far, Yujiro's durability has been unparalleled in the world of Baki, and even total tanks like Biscuit Oliva have come up short in their attempts against the ogre. We have seen Yujiro jump out of 50-story buildings and just stand up like it was nothing. In addition, when Mitsunari Tokugawa's men riddled Yujiro with multiple darts, each containing enough drugs to knock out a blue whale, Yujiro was still able to come back to his normal self after just a few hours. It's been widely accepted that no matter who hits Yujiro, the strike will never get through due to his inhuman resilience. Yujiro's skin has been hardened to the point that he can withstand bullets and swords as if they were toys, and at one point, he remains unharmed even when a bolt of lightning hits him. It's also common knowledge that Yujiro's body is completely resistant to almost all disease due to his continuous training and peak physical attributes. Though Yujiro is far from being sober during many of his appearances, it has also been confirmed that alcohol barely has an effect on him. The man has fought everyone and everything at this point in the series, and not one of those enemies could harm him beyond a simple nosebleed. I guess the utter lack of scars on Yujiro's body finally makes some sense. In this case, Yujiro Hanma is not only an unstoppable force, but also an immovable object, all by himself. Yujiro's accelerated healing. How much can he take? Yujiro doesn't get wounded often, which is pretty strange for a man who likes to spend his days engaging in brutal fistfights with the most violent men on the planet. So what is it that keeps Yujiro from being permanently injured by the damage he suffers at the hands of his opponents? For most of the series, Yujiro remains untouchable as a warrior, and most fighters can't even land a single significant strike on him. Real powerhouses like Doppo Orochi only provided minimal resistance against the ogre before losing soundly. And then there was Pickle, the prehistoric fighter who's essentially the only man on the show with more raw strength than Yujiro himself. The senior Hanma took some pretty good strikes during these battles, but remained relatively unfazed despite the damage. Though Yujiro's relentless training does have a role to play here, his healing is actually an inherited trait. As a member of the Hanma bloodline, Yujiro has inherited some pretty insane skills from his ancestors. Not only can he heal faster than the average human, but his genetics also allow him to stand in the face of grievous injuries. This can be seen most clearly during Yujiro's encounter with Pickle, where he was able to use his accelerated healing to repair his internal injuries quickly. These traits in the Hanma family were undoubtedly most apparent during the latest battle between Baki and Yujiro, where the father and son were able to go despite suffering pretty lethal injuries. The badassery just runs in the family, I guess. Yujiro Hanma versus Yuichiro Hanma. Who is strongest? At this point in the video, you're probably beginning to understand why the Hanma family is so special. There's just something in their bloodline that makes these men unconquerable. If only they could stand together, the Hanma family could probably take on the entire world on their own. But yeah, the fathers and sons in this family just don't get along at all, and this issue extends beyond Yujiro and Baki. Yujiro isn't the biggest fan of his father either, so this cycle is just destined to continue. Not much is known about Yujiro's father apart from the fact that he was a dangerous fighter, just like his son and grandson. From the brief appearances that we've seen, it's evident that Yuichiro was just as vicious and powerful as his son. It was revealed that during World War II, Yuichiro was serving on a small island in the territory of Okinawa, where he gained a reputation as an oni, or a demon, among the American soldiers. While at this station, Yuichiro single-handedly defeated some 2,000 soldiers with a single move, which led to the USA striking up a peace treaty. I guess you could argue that Yuichiro was the original sinner, and Yujiro just followed in his footsteps. Though the true extent of Yuichiro's abilities is still unknown, it's evident that he is one of the most powerful fighters that we've seen throughout the series. There has only been one man who could draw fear out of the ogre Yujiro, and that man is definitely his own father. Also remember that Yuichiro used just one technique to take down about 2,000 soldiers, and this is a testament to his immense combat prowess. The technique used by Yuichiro is known as dress and requires the user to use his opponent as a human weapon, similar to nunchaku. The power generated from this move is so immense that it can easily end any individual that it comes into contact with. Owing to the respect and reverence Yujiro holds for his own father, it's quite possible that Grandpa Hanma could actually do the unthinkable and defeat his son. Though we have never seen a direct encounter between these two behemoths, the manga has maintained that these two are equals in terms of power. We're certain that the more we get to learn about Yuichiro, the more intimidating he'll become. Though he was long dead at the beginning of Baki, Yuichiro could still come back, given the fact that dead men coming back to life isn't all that weird in this world. Yujiro's ruthless training regimen. Yujiro's level of training is probably untenable for most other fighters that inhabit this world. Though he was always blessed with immense strength, Yujiro could only unlock his full potential after going through relentless training in actual combat. Due to this, he has always maintained the desire to grow stronger and still indulges in fights on a regular basis to hone his abilities. Yujiro is the kind of man who can continue a fight despite serious injuries, all because of his fierce determination and indomitable will. By seeing each fight as a life and death scenario, he can always go beyond the logical limitations of his body despite the danger it puts him in. This attitude can clearly be seen through Yujiro's mastery of the death concentration technique, can only be activated when the user is in an extremely dangerous situation. This allows Yujiro to effortlessly perceive extremely fast actions that most men can't even register. For this, Yujiro once threw himself off a cliff, and if that's not dedication, we don't know what is. The Demon Back. Yujiro's Demon Back is undoubtedly the most powerful move that we've seen in the show. Even if you're not familiar with this ultimate move, we're certain that you must have seen pictures of the demon in one place or another. To put it simply, the Demon Back is an inherited skill that can only be utilized by fighters from the Hanma family. To activate this technique, Yujiro flexes his back muscles so hard that his flesh begins to form the face of a literal demon. When the demon grins, it's over for the opponent, as the Demon Back ability grants Yujiro a significant boost to all his physical attributes. While in this form, Yujiro was able to tank heavy hits from Doppo Orochi without even flinching. The demon back is often mistaken for a martial arts technique, but this form is basically a predetermined genetic advantage carried by the Hanma bloodline. So far, Yuichiro, Yujiro, and Baki are the only recipients of this genetic gift, but we're certain that we will see many more demons as the series progresses. The only member of the Hanma bloodline who hasn't received this gift is Jack, but it's possible that his heavy consumption of drugs corrupted his natural genetics. In any case, the Demon Back is an all-powerful move that increases Yujiro's innate strength to unforeseen levels. Yujiro's endless arsenal. One thing that fans tend to overlook when discussing Yujiro's incredible skill is his ability to grasp technique instantaneously. That's not even an exaggeration, as Yujiro has the innate ability to master any move just by seeing it. Moreover, his intricate knowledge of fighting allows him to adapt and move into his own arsenal with ease. Due to this, Yujiro has amassed a vast arsenal of moves that belong to different disciplines. Not only is Yujiro proficient in using strikes like the axe kick, backhand blow, nukite, and Vietnam whip, but he can also utilize submissions like finger grab and udande. All these tricks just further cement the fact that Yujiro is completely unparalleled in the world of fighting. Marvelous verdict! Well, suffice it to say, Yujiro is a beast. He is not only the most formidable character in the entire saga, but his thirst for blood and violence also makes him the most unpredictable. Whether he's on your side or your opponent's, you can't help but cower when this opponent walks into the room. I guess that's why he's known as the strongest creature in the world. Well, we've reached the end of this video, but do let us know which Baki character you'd like us to explore next. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button to stay updated with all our marvelous content. That's it for now, but don't worry because we'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day.